Linda, a 29-year-old black girl working hard as a waitress at a small, cozy coffee shop called Sunflowers, was finishing her evening shift when an unexpected event occurred. Just as she was about to start cleaning up for the night, the gentle sound of the doorbell broke the quiet atmosphere. She looked up, and her heart almost stopped when she walked into the coffee shop with none other than Elon Musk, the globally famous businessman and visionary. Linda froze for a brief moment, her eyes widening in disbelief. She had seen Elon Musk countless times on TV and social media, but never in her wildest dreams did she imagine he would walk into her little workplace. The cafe wasn't the sort of high-profile spot someone like him would frequent. It was modest, tucked away from the hustle and bustle of the city. Elon's entrance immediately turned heads. The regulars, usually immersed in their own conversations, were now murmuring among themselves, sneaking curious glances at him. Some seemed intrigued, while others looked skeptical or indifferent. For Linda, the initial shock quickly gave way to professionalism. She straightened her apron, took a calming breath, and approached his table with a warm smile. "Hi there, what can I get for you tonight?" she asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Elon looked up, a trace of exhaustion on his face. "Just a coffee, black, and maybe a slice of whatever pie you have." "Coming right up," Linda replied, her tone cheerful but casual. She turned to prepare his order, acutely aware of the stares from the other customers. As she worked, Linda couldn't help but feel a mixture of admiration and curiosity. This was Elon Musk, one of the most talked about figures in the world, and yet, in this moment, he was just another tired customer seeking a quiet corner. Little did she know that this brief encounter would soon change her life forever. As Elon Musk sat quietly in the corner booth of Sunflowers Cafe, sipping his coffee and seemingly lost in thought, the peaceful atmosphere was abruptly disrupted. One of the cafe's regulars, an outspoken older man named David, stood up from his seat, his eyes locked onto Elon with a mix of skepticism and defiance. David was known for his blunt opinions and his readiness to challenge anyone he found questionable. Clearing his throat loudly enough to grab everyone's attention, David approached Elon's table. "Excuse me," he began, his tone gruff and confrontational. "Aren't you the guy who helped set up OpenAI? The same one who's now creating another AI company, xAI? Sounds a bit hypocritical, don't you think?" The entire cafe fell silent, the tension palpable. All eyes shifted to Elon, who calmly looked up from his coffee. There was no anger in his expression, just a measured, thoughtful composure. "Yes," Elon replied evenly. "I was involved in the early days of OpenAI." David crossed his arms, his skepticism deepening. "So why turn around and sue them? And now you're building your own version of AI? Let me guess, more money, more control, right?" A faint murmur of agreement rippled through a few other tables. Elon set his coffee cup down and leaned slightly forward, his tone calm but firm. "It's not about power or profit," he explained. "I have concerns about the direction OpenAI is taking. AI is one of the most powerful tools humanity has, and I believe it should be aligned with truth, not hidden motives or biases. That's why I started xAI, to focus on creating something transparent and accountable." David scoffed, shaking his head. "Sounds convenient. You didn't get the control you wanted, so now you're playing the hero, right?" Elon paused, his expression briefly reflecting the weight of the criticism, but his voice remained steady. "I'm not looking to be a hero. I just want to ensure that AI evolves responsibly. If I don't act on these concerns, I'd regret not doing everything I could to make a difference." The room remained silent as Elon finished speaking. While some regulars appeared unconvinced, Linda, standing behind the counter, couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy and respect for Elon's resolve. To her, his words carried sincerity, even as the room buzzed with doubt and judgment. As the tension in the cafe hung thick in the air, Linda found herself unable to stay silent any longer. Standing behind the counter, she had listened intently to the heated exchange between Elon Musk and David, the outspoken regular. David's accusations of hypocrisy and self-interest felt harsh and unfair, especially to someone like Linda, who admired Musk's groundbreaking achievements and philanthropic efforts. Clearing her throat, Linda stepped forward, her voice steady, but her heart racing. "Look," she began, addressing David and the other customers who were now watching her intently. "I understand that not everyone agrees with what Elon Musk is doing, but you can't just dismiss him as selfish or power-hungry." The room fell silent, and Linda continued, her voice gaining confidence. "This is someone who's not just focused on building rockets or tech companies. He's also invested in improving lives, like funding hospitals and helping kids in need through his foundation. That's not the work of someone who's only in it for personal gain." She turned to David, her gaze unwavering. "And when it comes to AI, isn't innovation about making things better? Technology is moving forward, whether we like it or not. The fact that he's trying to create something safer and more transparent, that's worth acknowledging." Linda's words hung in the air, and for a moment, even David seemed taken aback. Elon, seated quietly at his table, looked up at her with a mixture of surprise and gratitude, clearly moved by her unexpected support. As the cafe quieted down after Linda's bold defense of Elon Musk, the sound of a door opening drew everyone's attention. Mr. Malcolm, the cafe owner, stepped out from the back, his expression darkening as he took in the scene. He glanced from Jada to the regulars, many of whom were shaking their heads in disapproval. "Linda, what's going on here?" Mr. Malcolm asked, his voice firm. Linda hesitated, but stood her ground. "I was just defending Mr. Musk," she replied, her tone calm but laced with nervousness. "I thought—" Mr. Malcolm raised a hand, cutting her off. "Our regulars are the backbone of this place," he said sharply. "We can't afford to alienate them over disagreements about a customer, celebrity or not. This isn't the kind of environment I want in my cafe." Linda's heart sank as she realized where this was heading. "But I wasn't trying to argue," she tried to explain, her voice softer now. "I was just—" "I have made my decision," Mr. Malcolm interrupted. "You can stay on for a few more days until I find someone to replace you, but after that, it's best we part ways." The words hit Linda like a blow. She felt humiliation wash over her as she glanced around the room, catching the smirks and whispered comments from a few regulars. Her safe space, the cafe she had poured her heart into, had just turned into a place of rejection and loss. The morning after the humiliating incident, Linda walked into Sunflower's cafe with a heavy heart. Her usual enthusiasm for the job was gone, replaced by the sting of rejection and the looming knowledge that her time at the cafe was coming to an end. As she went through her routine, she avoided eye contact with the regulars, their judgment from the previous evening still fresh in her mind. The lunch rush had just begun to wind down when the familiar chime of the doorbell echoed through the cafe. Linda glanced up from behind the counter, expecting another regular, but her breath caught in her throat when she saw Elon Musk standing in the doorway. He scanned the room briefly, his presence instantly commanding attention, and then walked to the same corner table by the window where he'd sat the night before. A hush fell over the cafe. The regulars exchanged surprised looks, whispering among themselves, while Mr. Malcolm hovered uneasily near the back, clearly nervous about the return of such a high-profile customer. Linda, trying to mask her surprise, approached Elon's table with his usual order, a black coffee and a slice of apple pie. "Thank you," Elon said with a warm smile as she set the items down. For a moment, she thought that would be the end of it, but after finishing his coffee, he gestured for her to come over again. As she approached, Linda tried to remain professional, though her nerves were impossible to ignore. Elon looked up at her, his expression kind but serious. "Linda," he began, his voice low but firm enough to be heard over the hushed conversations around them. "I want to thank you for what you did last night. Standing up for me, especially in front of people you've known for years, it couldn't have been easy." Linda blushed slightly, shaking her head. "I just said what I believed," she replied softly. "You didn't deserve the criticism you got." Elon nodded thoughtfully. "Well, your integrity didn't go unnoticed. After I left here last night, I couldn't stop thinking about your courage and the way you handled yourself. So I spoke with my team, and I'd like to offer you a position with my foundation." Linda blinked, unsure if she'd heard him correctly. "A position?" she echoed, her voice trembling slightly. Yes, Elon confirmed with a small smile. "We run a foundation focused on outreach and support for underprivileged communities. We need people who are empathetic, hardworking, and unafraid to stand up for what's right. Qualities you've clearly demonstrated. It wouldn't be a glamorous role, just an entry-level position at one of our call centers, but it's steady work, and if you're interested, it could be the start of something much bigger." Linda's eyes widened, her mind racing to process what he was offering. It was more than just a job. It was an opportunity to escape the confines of her current situation and work for a cause she could believe in. "I don't know what to say," she finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Say yes," Elon said simply, his smile growing. "We'll figure out the rest together." Tears welled up in Linda's eyes as she nodded. "Yes," she said, her voice brimming with emotion. "I'd love to." The other customers watched in stunned silence, some looking sheepish while others exchanged knowing glances. Elon finalized his payment, stood, and gave Linda one final encouraging look. "My team will be in touch soon. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do." As he walked out of the cafe, the doorbell chimed once more, but this time, the sound didn't feel ominous. Linda stood behind the counter, her heart racing, a smile breaking across her face. What had started as the worst day of her life had turned into a moment of transformation. Her decision to stand up for what she believed in had opened a door to an entirely new future. Linda stood behind the counter, her heart pounding as Elon Musk walked out of the cafe, leaving behind a stunned silence. The weight of what had just happened began to sink in. She had accepted his offer to work at his foundation, an opportunity she never imagined would come her way. It wasn't just a new job. It was a fresh start, a chance to be part of something bigger and more meaningful. The regulars, who had been quick to criticize her the night before, now sat in awkward silence. Some exchanged astonished glances, clearly grappling with what they had just witnessed. Others avoided Linda's gaze entirely, their earlier judgment now tinged with regret or embarrassment. Even Mr. Malcolm, who had been firm about letting her go, looked unsure as he lingered near the back, watching the scene unfold. For Linda, the moment was nothing short of transformational. Just hours ago, she had felt humiliated, defeated, and uncertain about her future. Now she stood tall, her sense of self-worth restored by Musk's recognition of her courage and integrity. She couldn't help but smile as she replayed his words in her mind, words that validated her decision to stand up for what she believed in, even when it came at a personal cost. As the cafe slowly returned to its usual rhythm, Linda realized that this was the beginning of something new. She wasn't just leaving Sunflower's Cafe. She was stepping into a future shaped by her values, courage, and an unexpected act of kindness that had changed everything. The video encourages viewers to reflect on Linda's motivations for standing up for Elon Musk, even when it meant risking her job and reputation. Was her defense of Musk driven purely by admiration for his achievements, or was it rooted in a deeper sense of fairness and integrity? Linda's actions reveal a willingness to speak out against unwarranted criticism, especially when she perceived it as unjust. Her courage stemmed from her belief that everyone deserves a fair chance to explain their intentions, regardless of their status or controversies surrounding them. More than admiration, Linda's response seemed guided by principles. She valued transparency and progress, recognizing Musk's efforts to innovate responsibly, despite the skepticism he faced. Her willingness to stand alone in her convictions shows a rare quality acting on one's values, even when it's unpopular or personally costly. Ultimately, the video poses a broader question to the audience. How often do we remain silent in the face of injustice? And what will it take for us to stand up for what we believe is right? It's a powerful reminder of the impact a voice can have. Yeah. Do you think her actions are purely out of admiration, or is there something deeper? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell. We will see you in the next video.